Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral, thank you for your service. Most of my questions will be for Dr. Carter, simply because of the two bases that I represent. But certainly appreciate your service. And Dr. Carter, I represent Robins Air Force Base, and I also represent Moody Air Force Base in Valdosta. And obviously the furloughs are of great concern to us. And I appreciate your comments, and that I believe I have your quote right, that you wouldn't furlough anybody if you had your choice, and that you're hoping to adjust from 11 days down.
Correct.
And I hope that we will know soon what that is, because I will tell you, a 20% pay cut for the men and women that are out there working to make sure that our war fighters have the equipment that they need when they go into battle is doing a lot of damage to the morale, and quite honestly, I think is extremely inefficient. And I want to ask you a couple of questions about the organic depots, if I could, and the impact of the furloughs and the efficiencies and the competitiveness of our depots as we go forward and we start to compete for new business as that backlog is created. Furloughs were mandated across the board. I didn't support the sequester, didn't support the furloughs, offered alternatives that had flexibility in it, as you suggested. There's no business case analysis that suggests that the furloughs help in any way, shape, or form long term. But they're creating inefficiencies, and they're creating deferred maintenance, and that makes our depots less efficient and increases the cost per unit. And my question is, what adjustments will be made to compensate for things that are being done because of Washington, not because of the men and women at the depot, as we go forward to compete for that business to try to get it into the organic depots?
Your analysis is absolutely right, both as regards the effect on the efficiency of those installations, and most importantly as regards the people. And in this, as in everything else that we've had to do in FY13, it has effects. Even if sequestration goes away, we're going to be living with the residue of what happened in FY13 for a while, in readiness, in depots, in all kinds of ways. For the depots, as we go into 14, we're looking at the backlog at each of the depots, and trying to manage to a reasonable level. If the backlog falls too low, then if there is a further budget reduction, it risks layoffs, which we don't want. So we want the workload to be managed above a level where it risks that. On the other hand, we don't want it too high either. So at each of those, the relevant service is trying to manage the backlog in a smart way in view of what's happening in sequestration. We'll have to see what happens in 14 and manage the workload accordingly. We won't be able to afford to do all of the maintenance that we had planned to do before the Budget Control Act, no question about it. And that'll have a long-term effect on each of our facilities, as it has on all of the extramural maintenance companies also. But
just to you do agree that the furloughs that are occurring at the depots is creating artificial inefficiencies that when we go to compete for the business in the future, we simply want to make sure that playing field is leveled, so that we're judged based on our capacity without the damaging things that Washington has done.
I understand exactly what you're saying, yes.
One last question I have with regard to the furloughs and maintenance is there been consideration into more joint depot work where Air Force depots would be able to compete for Navy business, yes, for example?
Yes, there is, and that's an important source of efficiency. There has been some opposition to that, but it is more efficient. Let's take helicopter engines, or a lot of helicopter-type model series are multi-service. Different services maintain those helicopters. Why not have one place where a certain model of helicopter is maintained? We are looking at that. That's a move we should make, and I hope we get the flexibility to make.